What's up, everyone? Welcome to Unmasked, where things are discovered, uncovered, brought to the light, and made known. I'm your host, Lamar Barrett, coming live to you from PG County, Maryland. If you're interested in finding out about the untold stories behind being a college coach, this is the show for you. Being a former college coach, assistant college basketball coach for 16 years, there are so many untold stories behind the scenes in the life of a college basketball coach. Now, let's unmask them. Today's guest is a longtime assistant coach with a great basketball mind, excellent talent evaluator, terrific skill development guy, a future head coach in this business that I believe, and he's a native of Salisbury, North Carolina, Larry Dixon. He also is a guy that I had a chance to play against for 2 years. He was at Johnson C. Smith, and I was at Elizabeth City from 92 to 94 with me. He finished in 1996. And a couple of times I know they were playing in the conference championship game while he was there. They was a really good team. I remember those teams. I don't think I beat Johnson C. Smith one time that I was there in the 3 years I played Elizabeth City. And
Lamar, you're making me feel good there.
then he goes on and coaches high school basketball. He goes to Southfield Wayne High School for 2 years, and then he does a year at Carver High School, and then he becomes a head coach at Garinger High School for 3 years, does a terrific job at Garinger, and then he gets into the college ranks. 2002, 2003, assistant coach at St. Andrews, and then from 03 to 05, he goes to South Carolina State. 2005 to 7, he's at East Carolina with Ricky Stokes. 07-12, he goes to Winthrop. He's an assistant coach at Winthrop, and then he goes back and becomes a head coach at York Comprehensive High School, for 1 year, and then gets back into college ranks, and he's at Georgia Southern, spending 5 years down at Georgia Southern, and presently he's now at University of South Florida, down in the Tampa area, where those guys are building the program, and I know they're going to do a terrific job down there in South Florida, and wherever Larry goes, they have a chance to win. That's what he does. He does a great job of getting players, developing players, coaching guys. So it's a guy I've been knowing for a long time, and you're talking about 20 plus years as a player, and now he's coaching. So I want to welcome to the show, Larry Dixon. How you doing, Larry?
LB, I appreciate you having me. Just going down that list of everywhere I've been makes me feel really old today. So
just say you're very wise, man. You're very wise. Don't say you're
okay,
old.
That's a great way to look at it.
Well, look, man, Larry, we're going to get right into it, man. We're going to get unmasked. And one of the first things I like to ask when guys come on the show is, you were a high school coach first, and then you go into college, and it don't even matter what level you're at. That's what a lot of people don't understand. I mean, there's no handbook to being a college coach. Like, tell me about, your first day, the first week, first month, after things are done, with human resources orientation, especially no one gives you direction. You can talk about when you was at St. Andrew or even when you went to South Carolina State, but talk about that. Like, talk about those first few times, those first few days, and when you just jump right into your job, now you're hired. Tell me about that.
Well, one of the things that I always use is my experiences as a high school coach, because I was fortunate enough to have some really talented athletes where they were being recruited. So I would always take the good and the bad from other college coaches, what they did with my kids in high school, and try to spin them and use them to my advantage. So, my first job was at St. Andrews, and I'm proud to say that I was a high school coach going to St. Andrews, which is a Division II school in Laurinburg, North Carolina, and I took a $26,000 pay cut. And at the time I was married with a kid, and my mom told me, was like, you can't do that. You're married, you got a family, you're a fool. And I was like, Mom, well, the Lord take care of babies and fools, and it's been a long time since I had a pacifier in my mouth. But, I had to take out and step out on faith as far as myself. I believed in myself, and I just used my experiences as a high school coach to help me become a really, really good assistant coach, especially on the recruiting front. So my first job was at St. Andrews on the college level. And from there, I was able to get to South Carolina State, whereas going to Johnson C. Smith, understanding the HBCU culture, I was able to adapt real quick and just use it to my advantage. Again, you have to use your past experiences to get ahead, and that's kind of what I always have tried to do, and build on all those years of of recruiting and things like that. And I've been fortunate and blessed to join Brian Gregory's staff here, using those experiences here in South Florida. So I'm thankful and blessed.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Talk about recruiting. That's interesting. That's the lifeline of college athletics. We know you got to get good players, good people in order to win games. That's just the nature of the business. You know, sometimes, you know, we always talk about you win some, you lose some, you build relationships and recruiting. Talk about your best and worst recruiting story that you've had over the years. It could have been from St. Andrews to South Florida now. Talk about your best and worst recruiting stories.
Well, the first recruiting story, obviously I get to St. Andrews. Speaking of experiences and learning real quick, you know, I'm going in gym, somebody had called me about a kid. I'm going in there and it was at the Peach Jam. And here I am, a Division II guy at Peach Jam, saying to myself, what am I doing here? I'm looking over, got North Carolina on one side, NC State on the other, and I'm jammed up in there. But the one thing is, I got to act like I belong. As soon as I could get out of there, I had to go on the back road somewhere and try to find me a player, because at the end of the day, you got to get a player. So I've learned real quickly, you don't always have to go where everybody else is. So that's one of the recruiting stories. And then again, some of the hotels I've had to stay in over the years, a few of them I had to try to save on the budget. And people don't understand this, and this is part of it. When you're trying to save on the budget, you might have to sleep in a place at a hotel where you got to sleep with one eye closed and one eye shut. And halfway through your nap, you changing eyes. So, you know, just some of those recruiting stories. People don't understand. You know, they think it's all glitz and glamour based on what they see on TV, but it's not like that. You got to grind it. You got to be an everyday guy. You can't just show up when the lights are on. So that's true. You know, that's one of the things, working my way up each level, that I've had to learn, and that's just, I think one of the things me going to John C. Smith instilled in me is the work ethic. And so, you know, recruiting, you just got to grind it out. You got to recruit, and you got to trust yourself. You know, you got all these guys that's recruiting gurus, but you know, you got to grind it. You got to believe, because at the end of the day, when you go in front of that head coach, you got to be able to say, look, I believe in this kid. I'm putting my paycheck on the line, because at the end of the day, you got to get good players to win.
So true, Larry. So true. I hope these young guys listen to that. It's not as easy. Everyone thinks they see the finished product. They have no idea what goes on behind the scenes, man. No idea.
Right, exactly.
We all know this too, man. Like, you talk about, like, people don't know how much time and how much you invest in your craft. Mm-hmm. It's you know, I always tell people, like, you know, they'd be like, oh, when is your off season? When is your downtime? We don't have an off season. We don't have a downtime. No. You know, you're away from your family. You don't get to have a lot of your friends get married. You really can't go to their wedding, or right. You know, just they go on vacations, or they want to go. You want an All-Star weekend? No, I think we got a game that weekend. But these people don't understand. But, like, right. What did you have to give up or sacrifice achieving your current level of success?
I'll give you one example, and I don't mind sharing this. I tell all young coaches that's trying to get into it, trying to do this, I tell them, I really, truthfully, at the end of the day, gave up my family. And I think, you know, obviously when you go through, I went through a divorce, but part of it was I worked too much. I was always trying to work to get the next big job. And I was not there for my ex-wife like I should have been. Now, obviously, when you go through a divorce, it's 50-50, you know, but 98% of my 50% was I was always working. So, you know, your family, you got to have somebody strong that believes in it and going to be there with you, because you're going to be with your coaching staff and the players more than you're going to be with your family. And my ex-wife done an unbelievable job raising our kids. My son's 24, will be 24 next week, and my daughter's just turned 16. And for a long time, even when we was married, she was a single parent. So I give her credit for that, but you don't understand that as a young coach, the sacrifice of being away from your family and the toll that it takes on your family because if you get in this thing, you're going to get fired. You can't name probably 5 guys that went out the way they wanted to go out, so that's tough. The pressure on that family, the pressure on you. So I say, that's one thing I always tell young guys that, you're going to have to sacrifice. If you get in this, you're going to sacrifice something. You ain't going to just get in and ride smooth with it. It's going to be some bumpy roads, and you got to understand that everything ain't what it seems. And I tell people all the time, think about it. A lot of people want to say they do it until it's time to do it. The other day, and I work for a great guy, Brian Gregory. It was a Friday, and Tom Herring and I was still in the office. It was 5:36. Coach come down. What are you guys still doing in the office? Well, we're trying to get some work done. So you gotta, a Friday, a July Friday, you would think you would be at home with the family or at a beach somewhere, but nah, we're working because we're trying to build something special here. And Coach made us leave the office. So, those are the kind of sacrifice, and it's not a 9-to-5 job. It's not a 9-to-5. We're during the season, we're in the office probably 7:30, and BG gets in around 6:30, and we probably don't leave to 7:30, 8 at night. So, again, you're with your coaching staff, your players more than you are with your own family, especially during the season. So, you talk about sacrifices. Those are 2 of the sacrifices with your family and your time. And then, it's funny, you talking about All-Star Weekend and all that. Every year, my college teammates say, yo, you coming to homecoming? And I'm like, homecoming? I ain't been to homecoming in 30 years. And it's not because I don't want to go. It's because it's we may be having a homecoming, or we may be having kids on campus. That's a big peak recruiting season on Saturdays. We got to take advantage of them. So, if you want to keep that check going, it ain't no homecoming right now.
So, I totally agree with you. The same thing. Like, people used to say that. I'd be like, homecoming? Nah, man, y'all don't understand. Y'all definitely don't understand. Right. And I was an hour away at Old Dominion, and I couldn't even get down there to homecoming. That's what people don't understand. They don't understand that. We know this part too. Scout reports, how huge it is, how big your players prepare. Making sure you got play calls and action, and coaches spend 7, 8. I mean, they watching 7, 8, 9, 10 game films just to get prepared. And now you got a 10, 15 minute clips for kids who you like. You thinking they should get everything that you did in 7, 8 games. They're getting it in 10 to 15 minutes. So you got play calls, you got actions, all of it. Then they go out and they perform, and it's like, yo, I put in all this time, and or you might have one of those situations where you got a guy, he's the 8th, 9th man, comes off the bench, he's made 2 out of his last 30 threes, and then all of a sudden he wants to make 4 against you. Coach looking at you like, yo, I thought you said he couldn't shoot. Coach, I never said he could shoot. I said he was struggling to shoot. So talk about your best and worst scout report you might have had over the years.
Well, the one thing about a scouting report, you got to be detailed out in, and for every coach is different. Every coach is different. So you got to know your boss. When I was at Georgia Southern with Mark Bynes, we did it a little different. And then since I've been here with Coach Gregory, BG, it's been totally, totally different. Like, this is the most in-depth scouting report I've ever been around. We may go over 15 to 20 sets. And the guys are like, but you know what? It works, and I'm shocked that it shocked me, because our guys learn it, and it's a process, but they get it, and they'll call the sets out, and I'm like, yeah, now we getting something done. But I tell you, and it never fails, it always happens. We were playing a bye game my first year here at South Florida, and kid came, one of the best players was hurt. Well, like, oh boy. So then another kid who hadn't played much, I didn't have a whole lot on him. It's at the beginning of the season, first or second game. Kid comes in and bears 2 threes. I said, he a shooter. He's a shooter. So, but he was one we didn't focus on, but because the other kid was hurt, he became a little more integral, for that particular team. So, that's always, as an assistant, that's always a bad sign if somebody's hurt and somebody else gonna have to step up, because it's gonna be somebody that steps up for that opposing team, and you just gotta be prepared. And if always a rule of thumb for me, if somebody averages 9 to 10 minutes a game, 8 to 10, they're on that scouting report. So you may not have 1 or 2 clips, but they're gonna know, at least see the number and know what they do. So that's a rule of thumb for any aspiring coach or old coach, whatever. If you getting 8 to 10 minutes, you're on my scouting report.
That's pretty smart right there. Hey, you're not leaving anybody out. I like that. What's the biggest challenge, man, you think you've experienced since you've been in college coaching?
I think one of the biggest challenges for me personally was breaking into it. And the reason it was challenging is because I didn't play at Duke, I didn't play at North Carolina, any of those big schools. I didn't have a big name behind me. So I had to try to knock it through, work my tail off, and get it through work ethic and just treating people the right way so I get my name out there. So I think that's one of the biggest challenges for me personally. Another challenge that I have is, and this is with any African-American coach, is you want to be labeled as a recruiter. And one of the things that helped me was when I left East Carolina. Well, St. Andrews helped me from the standpoint of South Carolina State, where I had to do a little bit of everything. And then in East Carolina with Ricky, I did a lot more recruiting than anything else. But one of the biggest things that helped me was when I went to Winthrop with Randy Peel. He put a lot on my table, on my plate, on the table. And then we just I started the skill development piece of it, and then started the scouting report of it. I started to learn and grow from there. And then once I got here with BG, he helps you become a head coach, because he asks you questions that administrators ask, and he allows you to do things and prepare you. And like Tom Izzo prepared him. So one of the things I'm just continually trying to work and get better at owning my craft, where you can't be pigeonholed or labeled a recruiter. And that's one of the things Tom helps you with too, because he helps you, because he's a former head coach. So he helps you, and I bounce things off of him. I ask questions because I want to know why you do certain things to try to help me learn. But I think one of the biggest challenges personally, like I said, is one, I didn't have a big name or, things like that. So I've had to work my tail off to get to this level. And then the second thing, obviously, being pigeonholed. And I've been fortunate enough to be around great guys that don't pigeonhole you, try to give you stuff to do and make you work and learn and think. And that's the biggest thing. You got to want to be able to work. You don't want to be labeled just a recruiter. And that's one I've tried to broaden my horizons and just treat people the right way and learn and meet people, because like I said, I don't have anybody can just pick up a phone and call to get a head job, so you got to work and do the right thing.
Great stuff right there, man. Do you ever find that there are things about you that people might misunderstand? Like, what are they?
Yeah, I think, and it's a little bit of a fault of myself, because when I'm on the road in gyms, I speak to guys, but I try to get by myself where I can work and lock in. I talk, and me, LB, I'm one of the nicest guys, and I'm a big fella. My size may intimidate some people, but once they get to know me, they know, I'm just a down-home guy, a country guy from Salisbury. But I think one of the things as for me personally, I don't do a great job of meeting people, talking when I'm on the road, because I feel like I'm there to get a job done and not friend, But now when I'm heading out, I'll speak, hey, how you doing? So I got to do a better job of that. But, it's hard because I'm trying to get a guy, I'm trying to keep a job, so I don't have time to play around with guys, And then you see some guys, they're sitting there instead of working, they are playing around, talking. And I'm always the firm believer is the next head coach is in that gym watching, because I know I watch guys and And if I become a head coach, I know who I want to hire and who I don't want to hire, just because I know who works, you know. So that's kind of, that's kind of my deal there. And
Yeah.
that's my fault. I'm not a guy like that.
Well, I say you still do a great job. You do make sure you speak to everybody and you're cordial and all of that. But like you said, it's about getting your job done. And I think you do a great job of doing that. Like we all know this, man. You played, for Coach Joyner. I mean, we've always, you've been around in this. It's, you're an educator and a teacher. That's what you're always doing in coaching.
Right.
It's just like a classroom. Like, what do you try to teach your players besides basketball? I mean, I know you're a big mentor to these guys. Like, what do you try to teach them?
No, the one thing is, I always try to teach the guys about doing the right thing. Because I tell them, I say, hey, you can't have success on the court if you're not having it off the court. So you got to always be doing the right thing. And that's treating people right, treating your teammates right, and not embarrassing your family. Not so much the program, but not embarrassing your family. And I always tell guys, I treat them like they're my own kids. I told one of our freshmen today, hey man, do I have to call and check up on you this weekend? I treat you like my son. I love you. And I think we as men need to tell guys that more to help guys understand it's okay if you care for somebody, if you want to help them or you want to see them do well. It's okay. And the biggest thing is I communicate with the guys. And I think that's huge, because a lot of our guys may not have a male that communicates with them like that. And that's one of the things that my mom instilled in me. You got to treat especially kids the right way, man. You got to, because they're the future, and you just never know who you might be impacting. And that comes from, a little bit of that comes from me teaching, being a high school teacher, always being around kids and things like that. So I think the biggest thing is you got to be a mentor to those kids off the court, and you got to let them know that, basketball is good, but that ball's going to stop bouncing. And we got to make sure you get a degree, because and you're going to laugh when I tell you this, but an old coach, John C. Smith, that was our assistant, Welcome T. Moten, who played for Lloyd McClendon, always would tell us it's best to get your name on a piece of paper instead of in the paper. And when I was their age, I did not understand that. But now that I'm coaching, we got to make sure these guys get degrees and get their name on a piece of paper.
Yeah, that's so true, man. I love that. I love that. That's great. Getting it on the paper instead of in the paper. I like that one. That's actually pretty good. What are your best and worst memories in coaching?
I'll start off with worst memory. I don't necessarily know that I had a worst memory, just because I enjoy what I do. Now it might be some, losing always is bad, but I don't know that I've ever had a worse memory. Probably when we got let go at Winthrop. You go to 2 tournaments in 4 years and get let go. So that was a bad memory, because I thought we were going to be right back there the next year with the talent we had coming in. So I think that was a bad memory. But one of the best memories, and anytime you win, I'll give you 2. Anytime I see our guys graduate, that's a great memory, because I know they're set up to be successful in life. But anytime you get to cut those nets down and you see your name on selection Sunday, which I've been fortunate enough to have 2 times, those are great memories, great memories. The memory my first year here at South Florida, we won the CBI championship, just for this program, where it was and where Coach Gregory, Coach Herring, Coach Wages, those guys, where they brought it to. And I was able to come in the first year and just ride that train. That was unbelievable to go from 10 wins to 24 wins. It's amazing. And we just steadily been building it since. So those are some great memories. I would have to say, if I had a bad memory, it would be us getting let go. And as you know, anytime you get in this profession, again, I said it earlier, you probably gonna go through that. So it's hard. it's hard to maintain and sustain a job in this profession, because the crowd always wants you to do better, always think you should do better. I like to go on some of these people that critique us and go to their job, see how good they are.
You're so right. You're so right on that. You're so right on that. And I asked you this, like, what was, because you talk about it in this business, man, and the being fired part and all this stuff, like, but like, what was the most stressful situation you faced? Because you do have some stressful moments in this job, and people don't realize that.
I would say, and I talk about it openly because I think it can help people. But that whole year that we got let go, it was stressful. Not only that, but also that same year, that was the year I went through a divorce. So I had all that going on. So when you say stress, that's stress, not only on the court, but off the court. So I think that was the most stressful. And anytime you're in a situation where you don't know if they really like you in terms of the administration, you win and lose on every shot or every defensive stop, which is not fair. And as coaches, when you feel the stress or the pressure, then the kids feel it, and now they're a little tighter. And so I think that's what people don't see. And so many people talk about it. They talk, well, this coach can't coach, this coach can't coach. Well, he went to 2 NCAA tournaments, and what's up with that? You're the same guy that won, but now you can't coach. And then when the coaches feel the stress, it just it, like I say, it just goes down to kids. It trickles down.
Yeah.
So
yes,
but as far as me personally, that was a stressful year there.
I feel you. Yeah, you're right. You got on and off the court.
I will say this though, LB. I will say this though. Going through that year has helped me, and it molded me, because as they always say, God don't bring you something that He can't take you through. And I was so much better than that because I took that next year I went to York High School, took that year off. But you know what? I was able to spend time with my kids, and I got to know them, and I did not know them when I was coaching college. So it helped me to get a better relationship with them, if that made sense. Because I had them, I was around them. And at the end of the day, it taught me that no matter your successes or failures on the court, those kids still gonna love you. So I called my ex-wife, said, hey, it's probably, the kids probably gonna find out at school we got let go today. She said, all right, so I'll let you tell the kids. So my son calls me, hey, Dad, how you doing? I said, I'm doing good, Dad. How you doing? Good. So Mom told me you got fired today. How you doing? So, but that just goes to show the kids gonna love you regardless. Your kids, So, but I look at the silver lining for that year. I was able to learn my kids and know them. So that's a good thing.
That's awesome. And it's funny you say that because a friend we have in common, one of my ex-teammates, Sean Walker, he always talked about it. Like, most guys, we in this business so long, you probably need a professional development year to learn yourself. And people don't do it because you graduate from college, you've been constantly on basketball.
Right.
And then you don't ever realize it. And like you said, when you are let go and things like that, when you could take that year off and like just get away from the college basketball,
right,
it's so much better. And you look at, Bruiser Flynn has been on. He talked about that.
Yeah.
Just that 1 year away from it, it just gives you more energy to come back. It
energizes you because up until then, you hadn't had that, and it charged my battery. And it's funny. I'll tell you a quick story. Mark Byington, who got the Georgia Southern job, he called me and texted me the night before, said, hey, I think I'm getting this job. Would you be interested in coming with me? I said, let me think about that. Because now York was paying me good. It was a good little situation I had down there. So I get down, I called him and say, yeah, I'll do it. So he said, okay, cool. So after about the first 2 weeks, I said to myself, what did I get myself into down here? Because I'm going from being home every day at 2:30, 3 o'clock So we wasn't leaving that office to 9:30 or 10. And I'm saying to myself, wow, what? I forgot about this.
You do forget about it, but yeah, you're 100% right. I'm gonna show you for this one. I always like to ask because people don't realize you don't have to say names, but you see some wild stuff in this business. Like, what's the strangest thing a player has done, like outside of the basketball court? You just was like, it could be strange, weird. You like, did this kid really do this? Or like, I just can't believe it. Anything that like just popped out for you like that that's just a strange or wild situation?
One is I won't say no names, but and if he ever sees this, he'll know who I'm talking about. But I'm I go to the guy's apartment all the time just to check on him and chit chat with him outside the office, outside the court. So I'm giving one of the kids a ride home, and he's on the phone calling pet shops, saying, "Do you have any small mice?" And I said, "What, you gonna get a hamster?" He said, "Nah, I gotta get some food." I say, "Food for what?" "My pet snake." I said, "You got a snake?" He said, "Yeah, man, yeah." So I said, "I've been coming to your room and didn't know you had a snake." "Yeah, and one of the times you came in, I had lost him." I said, "Oh my God." So from that point on, I never checked his room again. So he comes in the office. ESPN's gonna do a story on him and the snake. Mark Adams, great guy. He comes up, so he has to bring the snake over and show the snake, and they interview him and stuff. So he comes up and going, "Hey, coach, what's up?" Gonna shake my hand. I ain't paying attention. I'm getting shakes. He's got the snake wrapped around his hand. You're gonna shake my hand. You talking about something? I jumped straight up in the air and just started hollering. Coach came out. "What's going on?" I ran down the hall. I said, "Hey man, I don't play with snakes." So when I say wild or crazy things off the court, that's one of them.
Wow. Well, I live with that, and you're gonna know this name because you battled against him. Jove Ford was that way in college. He had
Oh
that
my
in
God.
college.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah. So you would know him, and he.
So Jove had a snake.
Yeah.
I knew he was crazy.
So you would know that. Now you've been with some guys. I mean, you worked with some really good guys over the years, and like I said before, I think you got a chance, still in this business, to be a head coach,
Mm-hmm.
and you picked a lot of those guys' brains over the years. If you got your opportunity, like what expectation wise, like what would you expect, from administration on down? Like what are you looking for? And it's not a particular school, but what do you expect? Going into that situation, you get the job. What would your expectations be from administration?
One of the things from an administrative standpoint, I think you got to have support, and everybody has to be on the same page in terms of wanting you to be there. You know what I'm saying? Can't be any split decisions between the president and AD, because if that happens, then eventually you're not gonna get everything you need. You got to be there wanting to win. Because that's the one thing. And the one thing personally, you have to know who's in charge, whether it's the AD or the president. And that's who you got to get along with, the bottom line. So I think the administrative support, because if they're supporting you, they want to win, they're going to give you everything you need to win. Now, once you get those things, it's up to you to do that, to get to be successful. And that comes with hiring the right staff. Because as a head coach, the staff is the ones that's doing the grunt of the work, and they're getting it done. So I think that's the biggest thing. Administratively, they have to support you, and they have to give you things you need to be successful. And I think it starts with having the funds, the resources to hire great staff. Because when you hire great staff, you're going to be successful. And you can hire a lot of guys that's got a lot of different experiences and things like that can do nothing but benefit you. And you see so many times where you have really, really good head coaches, but they don't have the resources to hire the right staff. And that there in turn is the problem, because they can coach, but they ain't got guys doing the groundwork because you need guys that are in the foxhole with you trying to get it done. So I think that's the biggest thing. Support from the administration, able to give you the refund, the funds and resources needed to be successful.
So true, man. So true on that, man. I agree with you. You talked about the success with the wins and things like that. But what's the biggest accomplishment you think you've experienced since you've been a college coach?
I think obviously getting to the NCAA tournament, having experiencing that one. I think bringing quality young men in that's gonna they got their degrees. I think that gives me, that's what it's all about. I think recruiting freshman of years, that shows that you're doing the right thing, giving guys opportunity, being young. So that's one of the biggest accomplishments. And the biggest thing for me is, and I said it earlier, I want to see guys be successful off the floor. So when they get those degrees, that's what makes me happy. And maybe I'm getting sensitive in my old age, but I've started to tear to now when on senior night, because one, those guys are going to take the next step, one, not only in their personal and professional development, but they won't be there anymore. And I feel sad for that. So the last few senior nights, not only here at South Florida, but at Georgia Southern, I'm getting a little teary-eyed. I ain't the tough guy I used to be there at John C. Smith.
This will throw you for a loop too, because a lot of people are like, where did that come from? Like, what movie or TV show title best describes your week?
My week. That's a good question. Best movie or TV show that describes my week. I would say Love and Basketball. And the reason I say that, because I love the game of basketball and I'm trying to always be successful and have a happy ending at the end. So I always like to end my weeks anyway on a good Friday so I can have a halfway good Saturday and Sunday before we start it all over again on Monday. So I would say Love and Basketball. Also, that's one of my favorite movies.
I like that. What's your favorite word or phrase you use? Because I know some of the players probably laugh at it, or somebody else that like, what was one of the favorite words or phrases?
The guys got a kick out of me last year when they said something. I said something to them, they looked at me crazy. I said, no cap. And that just broke the ice. They just started laughing and crazy. So I say it now. And so my daughter, she's down with me right now. I told her, I'm weak. And she just, Dad, don't use that. Don't ever say that again. I say, put me on Snap. I'm weak. And her friends just got a kick out of that. So, I just try to cut up and use their terms so they'll understand.
Yeah, because then they know, like, oh, he really is down with us. They do think that way.
Exactly.
Larry, what's the best piece of advice you've ever been given?
The best piece, I've always been told, and this started with my family, that you got to work hard if you're going to be successful. Work hard and treat people the right way. Treat people like you want to be treated. And that's every day I wake up, I try to do right by people, and that's whether I got to tell them the hard truth. Sometimes as coaches, you got to tell players, you're not good as you think you are. You got to work a little more. So I think one of the things that helped me is Coach Joyner at John C. Smith told me I wasn't as good as I thought I was, and he didn't give it to me. Every minute I got to play, I earned. My first year, I probably played in 10 games, and that was mop-up duty. And we had a good little amount of them because we were pretty good. But, I had to learn how to work and value things that you earn. And I learned that at John C. Smith. So I had to work hard and I had to earn it. Nobody gave me anything. And even with this coaching deal, nobody has given me anything. I've had to work and prove myself. You know, like I said, I was a head high school coach and go down to Division II St. Andrews, took a $26,000 pay cut. I go from making $40,000, which was decent money for a teacher, first year, and go down to go down to 14,000 with a family. So you're talking sacrifice. I had to work for it. As the kids say, I had to get it out of the mud. And so from there, I was there eight months and went to South Carolina State and still didn't make the 40,000 I was making. I went there for like 30, 32, something like that. So I would say that the value of hard work, and I embrace it now. Whereas when I was younger with Coach Joyner as a freshman, I didn't understand, and I always thought he was picking on me, you know. So I thought he taught me how to value hard work and just didn't give it to me. And that's how it is now. I don't, you know, want you to give me anything. I'll earn it.
By the way, y'all were pretty good because Mark Terrell, who's coaching still, as he said. I mean, you coach, Buck Joyner coaches. I mean, Settle's son. You played with Settles. I think his son is a freshman at Howard. Like, I'm just listening. I'm like, y'all. Like, I go back and look at it. Like,
and I tell you what, one thing about that team, we had good guys. Like, I enjoyed being with them. I wouldn't trade that in. You know, some people talking about why didn't you go D1? Well, D2 is what made me who I am with those guys. Mark Sherrill, who is top 5 in scoring. Columbus Parker, we called him Green Light. He's number one.
Please don't bring him up.
He's number one in scoring. But all those guys are good guys. And like I say, Steve Settle's son is coach. He's at Howard. Mark is the head coach, I think, at Fort Valley. Buck is doing a tremendous job at Hampton. And then a couple guys, Ron Boyd, Greenlight, they were coaching AAU. So Ron, the point guard, his daughter was at Carolina, transferred to A&T. So we got some guys doing some good things there. So I'm good.
I look at it though. I look at the whole CIAA in whole. Like, you know, Sean Walker, myself was coaching. Jay Butler, who's at Union now. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was
and I think Sean does an unbelievable job of coaching and getting the most out of. You know, we talk about the resources and the administration. He does an unbelievable job of coaching, and you know, I think, and you even look at LaVelle Moulton. He played in the league. He was
LaVelle. Exactly.
Central was at in the CIAA.
Yeah.
So the CIAA has produced, you know, not only players, but they've produced a ton of coaches. So it's great coaches, it's great people. And I think too, the good thing about the CIAA is we didn't have everything that these D1s have. So when I'm looking at guys now, I'm like, look, you couldn't survive with where I came from. You know, oh, coach, what you talking about? Yeah, right, okay.
You're 100% correct on that. People have no idea.
Yeah.
What does success mean to you?
That's a great question. Success means, one, that we've treated the kids the right way. We've given them everything possible that we could. We put them in place to graduate. And the bottom line, we put them in place for the kids to be successful in life, you know. And then if you do that, I'm a firm believer, if you do that, the wins will take care of itself. If you keep doing the right thing, and I tell our guys this all the time when they're shooting, you keep doing the right thing, footwork, down and ready to shoot it, it'll go in. It's going to eventually go in, but you got to put in the work. You got to put yourself in position, and you got to keep doing the right thing. And if you do the right thing, success will come. And to me, that's what it is for me, you know, just success and keep getting a few paychecks until I get that daughter out of college, that last one, and I'm be good then.
I feel you on that. We all, you know, we have moments when lose tough games, might lose out on a recruit, you know, just not a good day of practice. Like, where's your happy place? Where do you go to and it's like, you know what, let me get back focused, locked in? Like, where's that place?
Well, the one thing is, and I'll fast forward then rewind. Every morning before I come in the office, I take 15 to 20 minutes to read a daily devotional just to get my mind in the right place. And then at night, I'm going to always say a good prayer because I know it's a new day. And I always keep this in mind. Things are never as bad as they are, and they're never as good as they are. They're somewhere in between. And so I keep that in mind. I really do. So I think when I say happy place, that's kind of what I lean on. But I always call my daughter, call my son, and talk to them. And so that puts me in a good mood. You know, that as long as they're doing okay, I'm fine. I can handle whatever. So, and a lot of times I'm calling my daughter just to see, she's a pretty good softball player. So I'm calling her to see how was your day, did you go to hitting, how was practice or whatever. Shoot, she's a little better than what I thought she was. She batted as a freshman, batted 667. And then last year, batted 440 before they canceled the season. So I was like, wow. Then she's like, Dad, I want to play in college. So I call and check on her daily. So that's usually a good phone call. She gets me going. So I would say my kids are the happy place.
Awesome. Like Larry, you've never been a self-promoter. You've always been a guy that just, you work, you let your work speak for yourself. And I ask you this, if you had to choose 3 adjectives to describe yourself, which would you choose?
And this is what I would want. I would want somebody to say about me. The first thing I would want somebody to say would be a hard worker. I would say humble, because I don't think I have an ego. And the last thing would be kind, because I would want somebody, I just like treating people the right way. And I believe in that. So if I had 3 adjectives, and I would say that: a hard worker, humble, and kind. And if you do those 3 things, I think, you'll be fine in life. People will take care of you if you need something, or, I just believe that.
Awesome. What person and or event has had the most influence on your life?
Person, I would say my parents. My mom could care less about basketball, but she wanted to make sure my brother and I got a degree. My dad, from a basketball, all he cared about was sports. He was at every game. That's one of the reasons I went to John C. Smith. It was 45 minutes from Salisbury. And so my dad worked in Concord, and Concord was in between. So he could come to the games and then get to work. So as far as basketball, those 2, but I would say my granddaddy, who passed away, he kind of taught me how everybody liked him and they knew him, and if he could do something for you, he would. So I would say those 3 have been the biggest influences on me, just not personally, but professionally. And I kind of carry that to this day, those 3. And even my stepdad, from a standpoint, he was a high school coach. He taught me, my mom and dad went through a divorce, but he came in and he's a much better person than I, because I tell him all the time, I would have never married my mom with 2 bad kids. So you're better than me, and now they've been married for over 30 years. So he taught me. And when my mom went off on me about leaving high school coach, going to St. Andrew, he said, "Oh, Vivian, he'll be fine. He's gonna be just fine." So he kind of took my side. So that's kind of funny. But I would say those 4 people.
Awesome, man. And I like to always end on this question, because this is interesting just to hear the answer sometimes. Like, knowing what you know now, like, what would you tell your young self to prepare for as an assistant coach?
Knowing what I know now, I would tell my younger self to don't chase the next job. Just let your work speak for itself, and if I had to do it, and I say this all the time, and me and my ex-wife got a pretty good relationship now, I would have dinner with my kids and sit down and come out, and you'll get this, when I was younger, I would leave the house in the morning on the phone, and then I would come back off in the afternoon on the phone whenever I got home. So I would put that phone down when I come home and ask my kids, how was your day? What's going on? And just spend at least an hour, hour and a half, maybe eating dinner or talking to them. That way I would know them. So if I was to tell my younger self, it would be more personal than professional. I would tell them, quit chasing the jobs and spend more quality time in learning and knowing your kids. So that's what I would tell. And now, not only tell my young self, I tell young aspiring coaches that make sure you put your family first. And I don't think I did a great job of that. And my thing is, because I didn't do a great job with that, I need to try to help and educate others so they don't go through the same thing I did. You know, learn from me, use me. So that's kind of, you know, my deal.
Great nugget, man. And you know what? You sound like 90% of the guys that come on here like that. I mean, they don't realize, like, you talk about the time, and you know, like it was Kevin Clark, man. He was up here, 38 years of coaching. Didn't even realize that, right? He said, you know, Lamar, you know that I've 5 years of my life I basically spent in hotels. Like, wow. So that was 5 years away from his kids.
Right.
Out of the time, you know what I'm saying? Like, you don't realize that.
Right.
And like, you're right. Like, you're on the phone when you come in the house. When you leave the house, you're on the phone when you come. Like, that was the thing my wife used to always say is like, don't come in the house with it. Like, sit in the driveway if you have to.
Yeah, no doubt.
The garage,
no doubt.
You know, but like, don't come in the house and you're on the phone, because like now you're gonna be on the phone for another hour or so, and time just goes by and you don't get a chance to spend time. So I truly understand. I truly feel you on that, man. Yeah. But look, I want to thank you again, man, for being a guest on the show and being unmasked. And you dropped so many nuggets. I'm gonna allow you to, you know, I always say, is there anything you want to say before we go? You know, before we leave the show?
No, I appreciate you having me. I think it's a great thing you're doing, just because I think young guys need to know, guys who think you can just get in this business and just go from here to the ACC or here to the American Athletic Conference or just here to the Big South. It's not that easy. You got to work and grind. You know, you get so many young guys saying, well, I would have recruited him. Yeah, you probably would have been wasting your time, because at the end of the day, you know, it probably wouldn't have worked out for you. Or I would always tell guys when I interview for, other college jobs, I'm never going to promise you any player. Now, I'm going to tell you we're going to get involved with him, but I can't tell you we're going to get him for sure. Never make promises, because kids 18 years old change their mind all the time. But I appreciate you having me. I think this is a great, great opportunity for young coaches to learn from and to see if they really want to do it, because I think it takes a special person to want to impact young people's lives and do it while sacrificing a lot. So I think you're doing a good job. And young guys, I would recommend them watching this. Watch every episode, because my experience may be different than, like, I know you had a good friend of mine, JB, on Jeff Battle, on his experience. I tell you real quick, and I know you got to go. When I first got in Division I would call myself going to go from Las Vegas to Orlando, caught the red eye. And I was so gung-ho and didn't realize how tired I was. I go straight from the airplane to the gym. And JB, I didn't even know JB. This is how we became friends. He looked at me and said, my man, what's up? I said, man, I'm struggling. I just got off that red eye. He said, yeah, you need to go get some rest because you look like shit. And I didn't even know JB. And ever since then, we became best friends and stuff like that. But, you know, his experiences will be different from mine. So I would encourage all young coaches, all aspiring coaches that want to try to do this, I would encourage them to watch this because you're doing a great job, because you're teaching them that it ain't what it seems. So I think it's good that you're doing it, and keep up the good work. And if there's anything I can do on my end, you know, don't hesitate to call. And when this pandemic over, LB, you and the wife come on down. Tampa's a great city now, great city.
Oh, trust me, I know that. I spent a lot of days in St. Pete. My best friend was down there for. You remember Gerald Britt that played at Virginia State. So he, you know, so he was down there in St. Pete. So I spent a few times down there. Trust me.
I'm gonna tell you what, I love it down here, and whenever I get through doing this, chasing these kids around, I think I'm gonna retire
down there. Nice place to retire down there. Well, look, man, thanks for those great words, man, and thanks again for having me. I appreciate having been coming on. And I want to thank the viewers for watching another great show. Stay tuned for the next guest as we get them unmasked. See you next time, and stay safe.